I was scrolling through my phone when her message appeared, and something in my gut twisted. On the rooftop for a client meeting. Don't wait up. Call later. The little smiley at the end felt wrong. Like casual and completely unaware that I had already slipped into the building below her office, sitting in my car, just 5 floors down. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe I'd misunderstood her words. Maybe my mind was spinning stories out of nothing. But a nagging whisper in the back of my head wouldn't let it go. She'd been distant lately. Too busy for calls. Too distracted for dinner. Always just in meetings or catching up with colleagues. Her laugh on the phone sounded practiced, too careful. I remember the first tiny sign that planted seeds of doubt. She had been texting me from her desk, and I noticed a subtle pattern. A delayed reply when she was just around the corner, disappearing for hours with cryptic explanations. I blamed myself at first. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I wasn't giving her enough space. But then came the missed calls, the phone slipping from view when I walked into the room, the faint, hurried glances that didn't meet mine. Something was off. That day, I followed her to the office. Not to spy, I told myself, but to surprise her with lunch. And that's when I noticed it. The way she hesitated at the elevator, a flicker of tension across her face when her colleague waved from the lobby. I brushed it off. Maybe she was just stressed. Maybe I was reading too much into nothing. But my instincts are rarely wrong. I parked on the rooftop level, heart hammering. My hand shook as I climbed the last set of stairs. The sun was warm on my face, the city buzzing faintly below. I stepped onto the terrace and froze. She was there, laughing, leaning into a man I didn't know, one of her clients. But their closeness was intimate in a way that felt stolen from me. She didn't notice me at first, and I caught a glimpse of her phone screen lying forgotten on the table. A string of messages, flirty and familiar, each one punctuated with that same smiley I hated now. I wanted to turn and run. I wanted to scream. Instead, I stayed hidden, every part of me crumbling in silence. My chest ached, not just from the betrayal, but from the realization that the woman I had loved, trusted, and built my life around could do this right under my nose. Her laughter rang out again, and I remember the nights we spent talking until dawn, the mornings we'd linger over coffee, the quiet Sunday afternoons when nothing mattered but each other. All of it, suddenly, felt like a careful illusion. My stomach churned with memories that now stung like knives. When she finally noticed me, it was like a switch flipped. Her eyes widened, mouth open to form words I didn't want to hear. I didn't let her finish. The betrayal was already complete. The air between us thickened with unspoken truths, with guilt and shame, and the impossible weight of everything I couldn't take back. I had 1,000 questions, but the first words out of my mouth were simple, "Why?" Her face fell. I saw the immediate guilt, the confusion, the faint defensiveness. She started to explain. "It wasn't what it looked like," she stammered, voice trembling, but I couldn't listen. Every excuse sounded like another lie. I had followed her. I had seen the messages. I had felt the betrayal in the sun-warmed terrace air and in the brush of her hand, as it lingered on his shoulder. For a moment, we just stood there. The city stretched below us, indifferent, unaware of the wreckage above. I felt the last threads of trust fray. I felt my love, once unwavering, now heavy with heartbreak and disbelief. I realized then that love alone couldn't fix this. It couldn't erase what I had seen. "I can't do this," I said finally, voice raw. "I can't pretend I don't know. And I can't stay." She reached for me, desperate, but I stepped back. The pain in her eyes didn't lessen mine. If anything, it made it sharper, because I had loved her fiercely, completely, and still had to walk away. I left the rooftop without another word. The hum of the city below was deafening, yet inside me it was quiet, hollow, and irrevocable. Every step down the stairwell felt like shedding pieces of myself I would never get back. I didn't cry. There wasn't room for tears, but I felt the ache deep in my chest, the slow, painful burn of grief and loss. Days later, I replayed every small moment between us, every seemingly innocent laugh, every late-night text, every fleeting glance. They all fit together now, a mosaic of betrayal I could no longer unsee. Yet, In that quiet reflection, I found something else, a flicker of strength. I hadn't deserved this, and I wouldn't let it define me. I haven't spoken to her since. I still remember her face that day, the shock, the regret, the half-formed apologies. But more than that, I remember the sunlight on the rooftop, the city stretching endlessly, and the moment I realized I was choosing myself over love that had been fractured beyond repair. Sometimes I still check my phone. Sometimes I still feel that pang of longing. But I also feel the quiet power of having walked away, the clarity of knowing my self-respect was worth more than any fleeting lie. And that, perhaps, is the only closure that matters.